Hello and welcome back to our channel. We are going to be doing our final trip review from our Wonder of the Seas sailing that we just got back from. So to start things off, our travel was using Southwest Airlines from Bradley Airport to Orlando, and this was kind of an unplanned trip that we ended up doing. Originally, our travel plans had us spending the entire month of April in Australia doing a Trans-Pacific cruise back over to Hawaii. Unfortunately, because of some health issues with my mom, we had to cancel that trip. So we ended up booking this Wonder of the Sea sailing as a last minute early birthday gift for Raj while we were on the Grandeur of the Seas. So everything was kind of done last minute, but we flew from Southwest. We've flown Southwest before. This sailing piggybacked onto a conference that Cole's going to be attending. So it happened the week before the conference that he attended. So we traveled down together on Southwest. That was pretty typical experience. They've always done a really good job of accommodating Raj's needs. Again, with the chocolates, they were appreciative. I think especially coming off of the big Southwest meltdown, I think they were just appreciative to have people be kind to them. We were asked if we were airline people, right?
Yes.
By one of the flight attendants. I didn't even know what that meant.
Well, I don't think that normal civilians treat them like that.
Okay.
So it felt more of a familiar family-like move. So
when we got to Orlando, we ended up booking the Fly Snooze cruise package through GoPort, which we have done in the past. We've had really good experiences with GoPort in the past. This time was a little bit different for us. We've typically stayed at Hilton properties, which we have booked through the GoPort packages. None of the properties we usually stay at were available because, again, this was booked very, very last minute. So we ended up staying at a Cambria hotel. So it was a new chain through Choice Hotels for us. The hotel was nice. The room was spacious. It had, all the modern amenities. There was a restaurant on site where we had dinner. That was pretty good. Raj, you enjoyed your steak at the restaurant that night? Yes?
yeah, thankfully the food was actually pretty good. I mean, low expectations on a lot of those sort of restaurants that are embedded, but it looks like it was not part of the hotel. They must have leased it out with some local company. But yeah, the food was good. The service was great.
They didn't include breakfast in the rate. The restaurant did serve breakfast, but when we looked at the breakfast menu, there was nothing on there that Raj was interested in eating. So what we ended up doing, there was a fridge and a microwave in our hotel room. So there's also a 7-Eleven next door. The unfortunate part about this particular hotel is that in that area, there's no restaurants within walking distance. So it was either the hotel restaurant or nothing else. The only other option was right next door. There's a 7-Eleven. So we ended up walking over there and just picking up some oatmeal and cereal for breakfast the next morning.
It's a new sort of, I kind of call it development node, where basically it was this hotel, another hotel right next door, and then a pretty comprehensive 7-Eleven. As in, there was a lot. Like it was like Amazon truck delivery.
We were there for half an hour.
Conference. It was pretty well. It was a pretty big
There
property.
were a lot
but
of
there was the only
delivery trucks. There was like 7 of them.
Yes.
But so there wasn't any noticeable restaurants that were sort of standalones like there are in most areas that you spend any time in Orlando. So it's definitely an up and coming developed area. So I'm sure there'll be something.
So part of the reason we also ended up choosing this hotel because when you book through GoPort, they have early pickup packages or the standard pickup packages. For this particular sailing, we had a 10:30 a.m. check-in time, and so the only way to get over to Port Canaveral, which is about a 45-minute to an hour drive away from the Orlando area, is to choose an early pickup package, which means pick up between 9 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. from your hotel. So that was the other reason for booking the package with this particular hotel. But by the time they stopped at all of the different hotels that they needed to stop at on the route, and we were on our way, we didn't actually arrive until a little bit after 11 o'clock. So it was past our check-in time. So that was a little bit disappointing and unfortunate. We haven't had that experience in the past. We've actually arrived by 10 o'clock in the past, so with the early port packages.
But thankfully, we really didn't even encounter any lines. We kind of just walked the rope line at pace, at speed, and we didn't get slowed down.
Part of that is because we did have the key for the sailing.
Yeah.
So we got to expedite some of that terminal process because of the key. So even though we missed our check-in window for the 10:30 a.m. check-in time, because we had the key, we were able to walk straight in through the terminal and go through the key line with the security line that was dedicated for the key and head straight on up to board.
I was just going to say, it is kind of a pleasant surprise that we didn't get hung up too much. The key was definitely a good benefit there. But when you're looking at a ship of the size of the Wonder with a sheer number of passengers capacity and assuming that it's going to be pretty full, even the Cape Canaveral terminal can be overwhelmed. And thankfully that wasn't our experience getting there late but early.
Yeah. So, would we use GoPort in the future? Probably, but I think it's probably going to end up depending on our check-in time and what other options might be available to get us to the port within our check-in time. They do offer hotel packages that are not just based in the Orlando area, but also closer to Port Canaveral. The other thing that we noted was the Port Canaveral area hotels did not have any of the early pickup packages. So all the pickups from the Port Canaveral area hotels to the cruise ship terminal were all scheduled for an 11 a.m. pickup, which was also past our window. So I think, that experience, it would just depend on our timing and what other options we had available to us at the time. This was a sailing that kind of coincides with the 1-year birthday celebration for the Wonder, and it also happens to be 1 year after our initial sailing on the Wonder. So we were not on the maiden voyage for the Wonder, we were on the third sailing out.
I thought it was the week after. Okay.
For the Wonder. And so it was interesting to see the contrast between our first experience and then a year later, what the experience was like this time around. As he said, using the key for the sailing was really helpful in expediting things, not just in the terminal, given our late arrival past the check-in time. But we appreciate being able to drop our bags off with the key. The lunch is usually a highlight of that particular service, right? You enjoy the key lunch?
For birthday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's filet mignon.
Yes, filet mignon. But the lunch this time was a little bit different. Typically, it's the chops menu, lunch menu, and we get to choose our sides. We were not given the ability to choose sides this time. We chose main entrees, and then all of our entrees came with French fries and these 2 skinny, very sad-looking pieces of asparagus on the side. So that was something that was different. I'm not sure I was a fan of that, but we met some really great people during the key lunch too. It was the first time that we've kind of been in that type of environment and actually had good conversation with like 3 or 4 tables all around us. So
First time traveling, met another somebody with the last name Royale.
I know.
They were from Florida. Who knew?
Yeah. So it was fun. It was nice to talk and socialize in a relaxed setting when usually everyone is rushing to the Windjammer or there's.
And it was kind of intimate enough in sort of the side of the corner we were at that you could hold a conversation with somebody 2 tables away, and So yeah, it was interesting. I think we're all taken back on how long we ended up just kind of taking through lunch and chatting. It was pretty cool.
So we did not make use of the reserved activities times. We did not use the reserved seating for any of the shows except for the Aqua Theater. And if you do have the key, definitely use the reserved seating for the Aqua Theater because they were hands down the best seats in the house. For Intense, which is the show in the Aqua Theater, the people will come directly overhead above you, the performers. It was really, really very, very cool place to sit. There were no tender ports on this sailing. Always enjoy the final morning breakfast and the ability to relax and depart at our own pace, kind of in a quieter setting than, again, the rush of the Windjammer or, the chaos that comes with the departure lounges, with everyone trying to depart the ship at the same time. So that wraps up our experience with the Key on the Wonder. As far as the ship, for this particular sailing, we were in a standard balcony cabin. We just, quite frankly, couldn't afford any of the suites, like not even the junior suites. They were more than twice the price of our balcony cabin, and it was just, there was no way. The cabin we were in was nicely appointed. It's the same cabin, similar to a cabin we were in last year. But I found, even though it was a different cabin, same category, the cabin was still creaky. So it was nicely appointed. Fit and finish was lovely, but you could clearly hear all the noise from the hallway. Yes, Raj?
And also, two other downsides were, one, to get past, like, the bed, there you have to go between the TV and the end of the bed, and that's like a really narrow walkway, so if multiple people are trying to get by, it's like one person only. The other unfortunate thing is the location of the trundle bed under the sofa, because it pulls right out to completely block the little walking room.
Yeah, that
and
is,
lower drawers.
Yeah, so we do like the new style of the sofa bed in these cabins because they are the trundle style beds, so they can raise it up to make one double bed, or if you want to keep separate beds, two singles, there's kind of an upper and a lower. Raj said that the mattress on the trundle portion of the bed that pulls out was really comfortable compared to the sofa beds that he's been on in our other cabins.
Very comfortable.
Very comfortable. And he said it was the best that he's slept on a ship. The issue with that configuration is, at least in the balcony cabin that we were in, is when it's pulled out, you can't get past the bed. There's no space to walk by.
And the lower drawers are blocked.
Check our video of the
room tour.
Room tour.
To see that.
Match what we're talking about, what we're describing to the view.
As far as food, the first sailing that we did, we ended up purchasing the ultimate dining package and tried all the specialty restaurants on board, and they are really good. This time around for this sailing, we did not have the ultimate dining package, so we stuck to the MDR for dinner every night. We did book the brunch at Mason Jar, and Raj's favorite on any Royal Caribbean ship is Izumi Hibachi. So we did, that was his request for a birthday dinner. So we had second dinner one night at Izumi Hibachi. And both of those were wonderful. I would say overall, I actually really enjoyed the menu changes in the MDR, but Raj struggled, as you can tell by his expression, he struggled on a couple of nights to find something that he was able to eat. Raj's typical order consists of prime rib naked, or tenderloin naked, or roasted chicken from the classics menu naked with nothing else.
With a side of butter.
With a side of butter. So one of the nights, I forgot exactly which night it was. It may have been Caribbean night. It was Caribbean night. I believe it was Caribbean night. There was nothing on the menu that he was really able to find and eat, because he eats very bland food. Like salt and pepper is probably the furthest he's willing to go in terms of spicing things up a bit. So the options on the menu were not well suited to his tastes. We ended up paying extra to order the chops filet for him in the MDR. And so with that, it was $19.99 plus gratuity gets added onto that charge, and they have you sign the slip at the table. So that was fine. His biggest disappointment with the new menus was the desserts, because his standard for dessert is the royal chocolate cake. He would order it every single night in the past. He was not able to do that with this particular sailing because it's not available every single night. Yes, but they did add a couple of new desserts that he really enjoyed trying. Was it the warm chocolate cookie? And the lava cake they added.
No, lava cake's always on there.
Warm chocolate cake? I forgot what it's called. Anyway.
I
Or
actually know
the
what
brownie.
it was called.
Was it the brownie?
Yeah.
was a brownie, warm brownie with ice cream on top.
If you watch the video, you'll see we have the menus as part of the daily videos. But we were able to order multiple appetizers, entrees, and desserts through the MDR still. The only entree you couldn't do that with was the lobster, which everybody kind of knows there's been a big fuss about that. The one
Seems to be Lobstergate.
Yeah, Lobstergate. The one thing that we did note with this sailing is in the past, if you order multiple entrees at the start, they used to bring them out to the table together. On this sailing, they would not do that. They would wait until you finish one entree and then bring out the second entree. Actually, they did that with the appetizers too.
Right.
So that was something that was a change from in the past. And then I don't usually like seafood, but because there's been so much hoopla made about this whole lobster and the change with the lobster and it's bigger and better and all this stuff, I decided to try the lobster on lobster night. I took one bite. I still don't like lobster. So I passed it over to him and I ended up ordering cheese tortellini for myself.
There's a strategy there.
But
There's a strategy there.
there's a strategy for those of you who want multiple lobsters.
Hope senior management is watching this.
But
Yeah,
well, I mean, you
Actually,
go on a
they
cruise and most people go because they can try new things, right? And it was something new for me.
Yeah.
And so I tried it. I didn't like it, and that was that. But I think you really enjoyed all the seafood you had.
Yeah, I usually take the opportunity to eat as much seafood as I can. It's not something I normally get and eat when I'm home. But yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I would say in comparison, probably the lobster is probably about the best quality, taste, and texture, preparation that it's been in past cruises. The only better lobster there can be had is on Coco Cay at the
Beach Club.
Beach Club.
Cocoa Beach Club.
Yeah, and that's a phenomenal experience, but I digress.
Yeah, but you pay a lot for that phenomenal experience. So brunch in the MDR, however, wasn't so great. But I don't know if we ordered the wrong items or what happened, but I just felt like it took a really, really, really long time the one morning we had brunch. And like I ordered chicken with waffles and the waffles were super soggy. The chicken felt very like gummy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it.
I would say it looked like it spent a little too much time in the microwave, is to best describe it, which is not the case, not necessarily how it was prepared, but that was sort of the takeaway, unfortunately.
But Raj got royal chocolate cake for brunch, so that was a win.
Right.
El Loco Fresh on the Wonder of the Seas does serve breakfast. We were wondering whether they would serve breakfast burritos or what type of food gets served there. And we're surprised to find that it was just regular breakfast items. It's just kind of like a mini version of the Windjammer that was there. So, but that's another option in addition to Solarium Bistro if the Windjammer's crowded and you're looking for kind of a quieter space that still has options for you. I feel like overall the food was really good across the ship. Coming off the Grandeur where we had really limited options for food, I really appreciated just the sheer variety of choices available to us on the Wonder. There were so many choices that we did not get to try everything. Even just the complimentary choices, right? Breakfast at Johnny Rockets and we didn't go to the Solarium Bistro at all on this sailing. And so...
Which historically has always been a very good experience.
Yeah. So we just didn't get to everything because there just wasn't enough days in the sailing.
Yeah.
I know, Raj, you really like the Sorrentos on the Wonder. He was there after every show, every night, with his 2 slices of cheese pizza. Any other comments on the food?
No.
Okay. So moving on to shows, the first sailing that we did, all of the shows were not ready yet. Just given the situation with the pandemic and the Wonder coming out, Intense, they only had like a 10-minute showcase that they were able to perform with 365, the ice skating show. they were able to perform the show, but they didn't have all of the props and everything for the show, so they were not able to perform the entire thing. Effectors 2 was not ready, so Nick Weir, who is the head of entertainment for Royal Caribbean, he talked about...
And a co-creator of that.
Right. Talked about, what it took to get to the point where they could create the production the first time we were on the ship. So that was really our focus for the sailing, was to be able to see the 3 shows that we missed the first time around. 365 and Intense, I personally thought were amazing. Intense, the Aqua show, was fantastic, and you'll see we recorded the entire show, so if you want to if you missed it, because we have heard from people that they were not able to get reservations, not able to get in and see it, so we'll have that
That's
available.
a good point to kind of point out.
You didn't tell me you recorded it.
Raj was doing an oral exam with one of his teachers during the Aqua show, so he missed the show.
Because virtual learning.
So he had mistakenly booked a test with one of his teachers during the same block as the Aqua show. So Dad and I got to watch it. Raj was back in the cabin doing a test. So, I thought the Effectors 2 was okay. The plot felt a little recycled and not very innovative. We did see the original Effectors on the Odyssey, but the performers were wonderful, and the tech was very cool, right? So we did skip Voices and Tap Factory this time around because we saw both of those on the first sailing.
Yeah. And if the ice show continues to be as entertaining and as quality, interesting, from my taste and from my sight, I'll definitely be going to those and not ditching the ice shows, because this one was pretty phenomenal. I was very impressed, and again, I think I captured most of that, so hopefully you'll get a chance to check that out if you're so inclined. One of the things that I'm struggling to get back through to pre-pandemic practices now, that they do a fair amount of we have to book those shows, where we were pretty spoiled, I guess, on cruises from June 2021 as they first started open in the Caribbean, and all of the cruises we had done through that 21, 22. It was, the lower capacity, so it was come and go, see you go see them 2 or 3 times if you wanted to. It was like no pressure. Now it's like you have to be thoughtful, and you got to book them early. So get the app downloaded and start booking if you can, because unless you've got a genie, which there's only a small amount of people, you may miss out on some of those shows. So just a little bit of a warning there. But I'm still not thinking about it as like a primary planning or protocol. So thankfully Bonham was all over it, or probably wouldn't have seen anything.
And for those who do happen to miss out on booking those through Cruise Planner online, if you miss booking it through Cruise Planner online, when you board the ship or even when you're in the terminal, if you can connect to the Wi-Fi there and get into the app, you should be able to reserve at that point. And if you're still unable to reserve, you can go to the box office and ask them what they have for availability for shows. And in some cases, I know that people have been told, sorry, we have nothing. But there were some people on our sailing that were put on waiting lists, and they also have standby lines. So for those people who have made reservations and then end up being no shows, or have been delayed at a shore excursion, or are they get distracted doing something else on the ship and they don't end up making it to the show, they will open up that seating, I think, like 5 minutes before the show starts or something like that, to the people in the standby line. So you won't get your first choice of seats, but you'll at least be able to get in and see the shows.
Yeah. One other thing that I just want to point out is when it comes to the especially at the water show, the Aqua Theater show, if it's bad weather, more importantly, if there's a lot of chop, there's a lot of movement on the boat, they will cancel and try to reschedule for the next day or some other shows. But again, that sometimes messes people up. I mean, when you're dealing with a lot of people and you start shifting, some people are not going to be happy. But just be mindful of that, because they are obviously making that choice based off of safety and safety first. It's amazing that the shows that they perform with the seas in the water washing, because you're watching that pool move in.
The water just...
And you think about some of those high divers coming down, from 80, 100 feet. Hopefully the boat is where 80 to 100 feet, 100 feet to 80.
80 to 100. Dad's a low talker, you know that.
So
He's hard to hear.
yeah, just be mindful. They make those calls for safety, and it's frustrating and all, but just it happened, I believe, twice actually, because we had a couple of days where it was a little bit rough, or a storm was passing not that far. And anyways, just be mindful, and they're not doing it for any other reason unless it's technical difficulties, and again, nothing that they can control.
For activities, this is going to sound a little bit weird, I think, for me to say, but it felt kind of dead on this ship to me, especially coming off of the Grandeur, where it was a much smaller ship, but it felt like there were often 2 and 3 things going on at the exact same time that I was so interested in wanting to do that, like, I had to choose. And on this ship, until the night of the birthday party that they had for the Wonder, I didn't even know who our cruise director was. And that hasn't happened for quite some time. So, I don't know if it felt like it was light on trivia and scavenger hunts and the things that we typically do, because they're relying on all the bells and whistles with the Wonder, like all the different, with the Flow Rider and the Wonderscape and just all the different other activities they have, the water slides and things like that, to keep people busy. I know laser tag was fun. We got to do that once. And if you have a genie, you get to skip the line, apparently, ahead of every other group that's sitting there. So kudos to those people that can afford to do that. But we were only able to make 1 reservation for laser tag during the entire 7-day sailing. If you want to participate in laser tag again, you can't reserve it again, but you can wait in the standby line when they have the activity open.
And if you get there early and there's not a line, there was people that were that went with us, just would stop, would end that session and go stand in the thing, and they did it for, I think, an hour or two before we even got there. So, I mean, there's ways of doing it, but just we don't have the ability to plan it. You kind of have to go with the flow.
Yeah. But it felt like after dinner, especially, like, there was kind of a dead period where typically on most ships you can go to the pub and see a performer, or there's someone playing in the promenade or the esplanade, depending on what class of ship you're on, and it felt like there was nothing happening between like 6 and 8. Yeah.
Since the live music is a big part of my evenings normally, I was actually really surprised and actually a bit frustrated that there would be a fair amount of time throughout the week that from 6:30 on after dinner, if we weren't doing a show, till sometimes 9:30 or 10 o'clock, that I was just like waiting around for something to happen. It was bizarre on a ship that big with all of the great venues they have and the great performers. It was like, it feels like, I don't know, I guess I'm a little bit more focused on this area, so I have a bit more of a stronger opinion of it, but generally it's just like, it's hard to make choices. There's usually 2 things going on at once, and you got to make a sacrifice and decide. Sounds silly, but it's sort of it is usually the experience that's my experience normally. And such a large ship with so many people, and so many great venues and great performers, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know whether it's some sort of staffing issue or crew problem, but it was a little bit, it was pretty distracting for me.
Music was definitely, for the performers that were on the ship, the music was wonderful. And actually Phoenix was on the ship. We've seen them a couple of times now on some other sailings that we've been on. Classic rock band, cover band. The one thing that I found very, very interesting that they did on the Wonder that we haven't experienced on any other ship is they use the Aqua Theater to host basically concerts and music festivals.
One of the C days they actually designated it as a music festival. So they had, what, 3 or 4? 4 of the major performers that were doing stuff at different venues. Phoenix was one of them.
No, not at the music festival.
Yeah,
Phoenix was the signature concert.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. My mistake. That's right. Because they did a signature concert, which was also new to us in the evening on
and
the
that
ships
was really
that we've
cool.
been on, and that was really cool. And I think they enjoyed it. I think that's a relatively new change in their schedule. Although the music festival, I was talking to some of the sound folks, and apparently they started that in November of last year.
And then you spent time. What did they use for the nightclub? It wasn't the music hall. It was
the attic,
which is also the comedy club.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And that's on the same level as Studio B.
Entertainment place, the fourth, deck 4.
Yep. It's still very hard to, when you talk to people, say you're going down to the attic. It's just, maybe it's growing up in New England, it just doesn't make any sense. The attic's up. Yeah, just kind of bizarre. No, the DJs, I believe there was 2 ones that would swap in and out for the attic experience and nightclub experience, and they were both very, very talented. Really kept it going. I thoroughly enjoyed that part. And the Red Party, which is in Studio B, midweek, somewhere's in the midweek, was also, and it's interesting, completely different set of passengers. Like the Red Party attracted a whole other level. Also, there was people that could be let in under 18. They just couldn't buy alcohol, clearly, or consume alcohol. At the Red Party, where I believe 18 was the cutoff, and you have to scan your C-Pass to get into the attic when that opens at 11:30 or 12, whenever that starts kicking. They empty it completely. So, and I just a shout out to some of my new friends from this cruise. It was Lillian and Shannon, Nora and Alejandro, and I apologize if in that large group if I missed some names, but I think those are the people I spent the most time hanging with and chatting with, and also Chelsea Page and Brittany. Great time. Actually, both groups, elements of both groups, I actually got to know a little bit at Coco Cay at the Laguna pool with the DJ, which is my favorite place on the planet, especially when the DJ Hank's kicking it. And Melinda was another soul that really enjoys the live music, and there wasn't a place that I attended that I didn't see Melinda. So it was very cool. Very, very nice people. Enjoyed trying to maintain some connections, and maybe we'll see each other on a future cruise.
Well, you did see them on a past cruise. That's how they recognized you.
Right. Yeah, Lily and Shannon actually recognized me from last June's adventure to Bermuda cruise. It's a little bit odd to have.
We're getting around now.
Whatever fans, or I guess not fans, but but it is kind of cool to have people,
you recognize
each other, and that's really cool.
So moving on to the casino. So if you've been following us for a little while, you know that we've been trying to figure out this whole casino Royale business with earning points and accumulating enough to get a free cruise and all this. I lost all my allotted money for the week and didn't earn many points for Casino Royale, so that was a bust.
The educational investment money in Club Royale.
My $40 seed money didn't get me very far. The smoking casino is supposed to have a smoking side and a non-smoking side, and I will say anytime we were on deck 4, with all this new technology they have on the ship and the doors, it just smelled like smoke all the time. It didn't matter whether you were on the non-smoking side or outside the doors of the casino, near the dining area. It just smelled very, very smoky all the time. So, I struggle to be in spaces where it smells like that. I did try the non-smoking casino. That was kind of dead. But at one point on the final day of the cruise, a lady sitting behind me won a $14,000 jackpot on a Dragon Link
Exciting.
machine. So that was actually really exciting. I mean, it would have been more exciting if it was me that had won the money, but I was like super excited for her. I mean, I haven't ever seen anybody win like that kind of money, like on a slot machine on a cruise ship before. So I thought that was really cool. Some other notes, WoW bands are back. You can Furphy, yes. You can buy them at Bolero's for twice the price they were pre-pandemic. They are now almost $10, like $9.99, $9.95, $9.99, something like that. Instead of the $5 or $5.95 they were before. But if you do have an old WoW band sitting around from pre-pandemic times, they said that they can program those for you. So something else that I thought was weird is that for the newest ship in the fleet, with all the technology and all of this innovation, the trash canisters, you have to like actually use your hands to open the lids to throw things away. It's kind of weird that a ship that was delivered during the pandemic doesn't have a way
Touch-free.
to like a touch-free mechanism. It was kind of gross, especially when they have washy stations all over the ship and sanitizing stations everywhere. It was just it
And
was
these,
a little
and
weird.
what you're referring to aren't just trash cans out on deck, which makes a lot of sense because you don't want trash blowing around with wind and that sort of thing.
Central
Since
Park
Central
and
Park,
inside the
where you're just not going to have that wind factor. So,
Yeah.
it was very interesting.
One of the other things we ran into is, since the only sailing that we've ever done where we had my time dining that was scheduled was our very first sailing ever. And we determined that we really needed to stick to an early like set dining time. So every single sailing we've done since then, we have made sure that we've booked the earliest set dining reservation that was possible. That was the case with this one. When we booked it, they said 5 o'clock was the early dining time on the Wonder. So we said, okay, great. Our confirmation included that information. Our app showed that we were set for a 5 p.m. early dining time in the MDR. But when we actually boarded, all of our dining information disappeared from the app. And when we got to our cabin and looked at our SeaPass cards, it said that we were my time dining.
And given the line that we found ourselves in, we weren't the only ones
Right.
that had this happen to.
There were many people that were in the same situation. We're not sure if they overbooked it somehow or what happened. They were able to fix it for us. It's nothing that we've run into before. And then that was, another oddity in the main dining room on this sailing that we've never encountered before is the crew member that served us. We ate breakfast in the main dining room twice, I think, on the sailing. She was handing hot plates to us. By hand, which is another like first for us. We've never that usually they're like no, stay back, don't touch the plate, it's hot, right, warning us away from touching that. So that was another first that we haven't encountered before.
I mean, to be honest with you, the reason why these sort of things stick out in our memory is because they're so rare. I mean, generally, 99% of the time, crew is phenomenal and professional, highly trained, and very considerate. And it's just when you get that sort of experience, it's just like whatever it is, whatever reason it happened, it happens. But it's just as we point these out, it's a bit of a backhand compliment, I guess, because it's such a rare that there's even anything to comment on, let alone have any sort of issue with. It's usually they're phenomenal.
Yeah, it kind of took us aback because trying to hand a hot plate over to Raj, for
I'm
example,
most likely gonna drop it.
right. But I mean that caution, right?
Yeah.
So just it was weird. This was also our first experience with the once a day cabin service. because for junior suites and above, they are still doing the 2 services every day. And we don't typically require much in the way of cleaning. I think our cabin tends to stay relatively clean. It only really posed challenges for us when trying to figure out towels and handing over laundry, getting ice, and like handing over laundry, for example, it has to be done in the morning. And so, at one point in time, the shower drain was clogged and it was flooding the floor of the bathroom. So as they moved to this model of once a day cleaning fleet wide, it just kind of makes us think about what, we need to be more mindful of what makes the most sense for our family, logistically, if we're in a cabin category of balcony or below, right? Is it better in the morning or in the evening, or is there a better way we could be communicating with the cabin steward about what our needs are that streamlines some of those things? Because the other factor was there's no sharps container or fridge or distilled water, right? And we had submitted the special needs form in advance. I had contact with the special needs department via phone in advance before the sailing, and they had confirmed everything was on the reservation and should be taken care of. And the only reason that matters is that with the once a day service, that first night, trying to catch up with our steward to request those items was really challenging, and your insulin was it needed to be refrigerated, and it was getting really warm by that point. And they are handling more rooms. Our steward did tell me that he has now 34 cabins that he had to service on that sailing, which is almost double what he was having to service before. And whether that's a corporate decision, whether that's because they're struggling to find staffing, I don't know. I can't speak to that. Again, it's more just, it's these little things that, now we'll have to think about, okay, well, how can we make sure that all this stuff is squared away kind of early on so that we don't need to worry about it later. Like, okay, we'll request double the towels, the day before, so we don't run out of towels, the next day. Just little things like that. The laundry was kind of, I think, the bigger issue, because with the pickup in the morning, it has to be picked up in the morning, and then they return it to you the next day typically. We each get a bag of free laundry with the Diamond Plus. It took, I think, 2 days to actually hand over a bag of laundry.
Honestly, my favorite perk. Seems odd and not really something I would, but it's something that is very helpful, and helps me pack less, which is always something that I'm striving for, failing all the time, but striving for. I normally take 2 showers a day, sometimes 3, but usually 2 a day, and I struggle with towels drying, and especially in the non-suite rooms, non-junior suites even in them, it was a painful process, and rarely would you get towels. So, you just kind of start doing the numbers, and that's why we were talking about ordering double the towels, because the first couple of days we were kind of like, struggling and using damp towels. And again, it's just one of those things that maybe there's better ways that we haven't discovered. Maybe there's some hacks out there that we haven't discovered, but we haven't had to really seek it out prior to this.
One other oddity that we ran into is that we purchased the mason jar brunch online through Cruise Planner before the sailing, and we booked it for 9 a.m. And then after we boarded, they called us and they said that they had to change our reservation to 10 a.m. because the restaurant didn't open until 10 a.m. And that if that wouldn't work for us, then they would cancel the reservation and then return the funds to us via onboard credit. So that I thought was kind of interesting, that they offered earlier times through Cruise Planner that were not actually available once we were on board. It was straightened out, but just, again, something to be mindful if you're trying to book like an earlier time through Mason Jar. This was also the first sailing where we were eligible for Cheers with an Officer. We didn't know what that was all about, but it was actually really nice. And we met some very friendly people that were much higher up in the ranks of Royal Caribbean Crown and Anchor than we are. But the lunch was delicious. I thought the cheese ravioli they served for lunch, these two had the filet. Raj always gets the filet.
When possible.
When possible, yes. But the cheese ravioli they serve for lunch, I thought was one of the best pasta dishes I've ever had on any Royal Caribbean ship ever. And I kind of wish that they would add it to their Italian night menu because it was like super delicious. But yeah, did you have any thoughts on the Cheers with an Officer? Okay.
I don't normally drink, but I remember.
Lots of wine.
Yeah,
That
I
event
drank
confused
a
me
lot of
very
wine.
much.
It was really, really good. But that was, I mean, the filet was wonderful. The food was wonderful. The service was top notch, and the few bit of conversation we had was really cool. So we definitely will lean into that opportunity in the future.
As far as port stops, we had 4 port stops on this particular 7-night sailing. We stopped at Nassau, Bahamas, Perfect Day at Coco Cay, which is the private island, Falmouth, Jamaica, and Labadee in Haiti, which is another one of Royal Caribbean's private locations.
Which is our first time checking that out.
So in Nassau, we just got off and walked around to check out the construction. June 2021, when we sailed out of Nassau, we actually spent a few days there checking out the island and all of that. So, and we've done shore excursions there before, so we have not booked any shore excursions in Nassau for like the last 2 or 3 times we've been there. We've stayed on board, but they've done a lot of construction in the port area. So we just wanted to get off and walk around and check out some of that stuff since the last time we'd been there. For Coco Cay, that's always a favorite stop for us. We spent some time walking around the island and then at Oasis Lagoon pool area before hitting the snack shack. Raj and I enjoy the mozzarella sticks there. And then Falmouth, Jamaica was a first for us. We have not been to Jamaica before. We had booked an excursion through Royal Caribbean Shore Excursions for Dunn's River Falls and the Green Grotto Caves. That was fun. I really enjoyed that excursion. Well, let me take that back. I really enjoyed the Dunn's River Falls excursion. I was a little creeped out by like the Green Grotto Caves because there was like this whole thing with the snake skin and the snake and the little hidey hole and
It wasn't a real snake.
I don't know. Whatever it was, like, you know how I get about snakes, and so that was just like that. No.
You did not have to go up. You did not have to go up.
I was pretty impressed with actually just the whole port development that's taking place there. Just really kind of world class, beautiful port with shops and restaurants and just it was gorgeous. I mean, I assume that's probably what sort of the level we're going to see Nassau when it's a finished product. Maybe a little different, but of that fit and finish, just it was very impressive.
Yeah, we just with our excursion, it was it was a very, very long day with the excursion, so we didn't really have time to check things out in the Falmouth port area, but it looked really nice, very well done. So if we're ever back there again, I think it would be nice to just check out the port area and hang around, see what they have to offer. Another first, as he referenced, was Labadee. It was our first time being there. We had a few sailings that were planned to stop there, and they were canceled because of the pandemic. So it was another first for us, and it was beautiful. It was very different from Coco Cay, however people like to pronounce it. I felt like there was lots to explore. I felt like that was a really good, like, walking area. I think overall I prefer Coco Cay because it has a more relaxed vibe. But if we go back to Labadee, I think I would like to book a shore excursion, like maybe the boat ride around Haiti or the jet ski tour or something like that, just to check out like more of like the actual island.
If you like the beach experience, Labradee is a phenomenal place.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Walking the beach, sitting on the beach, any sort of beach activities. Raj and I are super great
Raj just
for
like
the beaches. I like walking on the beach, but not sitting and cooking. Just not my thing. And of course, the whole time I was searching for some sort of pool experience, much like Coco Cay, with the Oasis Lagoon. Not that I found. I don't think it happens like that there. But it's a beautiful island. It's a really beautiful space. Check it out. And
yeah, I mean, check out the videos for all the port stops
Yeah.
from the trip in the playlist. I think overall, final thoughts for me, I felt like the Wonder has a pretty veneer, but it's a big and noisy ship, and it doesn't feel as well built as their older ships. Would I sail on her again? Sure. But I feel like there are other ships and itineraries in Royale's fleet that I would want to explore before I would sail on the Wonder again, having now sailed on her twice.
And I'll be honest with you, I mean, I really appreciate the Aqua Theater experience. It's really quite a phenomenal experience, entertainment-wise, and now they're using it for more than just the specific show. That's a really good use of that space. But I think we still all sort of really like the Quantum class, the Anthem, Odyssey. That's those are sort of, it's not too big, it's not too small, it's just right. And Oasis is wonderful. Central Park's great. Yeah, Boardwalk is great. I mean, no question about that. Our new experience of using the stairs that we discovered in the Grandeur, being a smaller ship, we sort of translated over and we made that decision. Said, okay, is that 5 floors? Yeah, we could do the stairs. At least going down, because again, it's a newer ship. The elevators are definitely faster than they are on the older ships.
They're also way fuller.
They're also way fuller,
Especially on boarding day.
So yeah, think about if it's not going to mess your day up with pain or what have you, consider using the stairs. They're usually not crowded. There was a couple times when we had traffic, but that was pretty rare. But
Departure day is the worst for the elevators, though. Almost everybody has bags.
Right.
Sometimes you got to go up to get back down.
That's right. Yeah.
Just
be creative. Or sometimes you got to go up and over. Yeah. So yeah.
Reggie, thoughts on the Wonder? I know you were disappointed the first time we were on the Wonder because some of the things were not functioning and we couldn't do some of the activities because it was not fully operational. So what was your thought now that we've done the Wonder twice?
It's a good ship.
The good ship Lollipop?
What?
And with that, we'll say thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.